Thank you for joining us for the Springfield Business and Economic Review. I am your host, Sarah Wolin, with the Greater Springfield Chamber of Commerce. Today we have representatives with us from the Sangamon County Business Education Partnership. We have great folks with us. First, we have Dr. Alan Woodson with the Greater Springfield Chamber of Commerce. We have Dan Ford with the Springfield Education Association, and Eugene Finley, who is chair of the Business Education Partnership. So thank you guys for joining us here today.
Thank you for having us.
So quick, easy first question. What is the Business Education Partnership?
Well, Sarah, the Business Education Partnership of Sangamon County began in 2006, and it is a collaboration of businesses and educational and community-based organizations, and also union representation. And the whole idea behind it was to put together these different groups, each of whom had been operating in their own individual silos for many, many years. And the thought was that there needed to be some cross-communication between these interests, and that if they brought their collective energies together, that we could put forward some programs that would benefit the entire county. And so hence it started in 2006, and we've been running very well ever since then.
Sounds like a great collaboration of everything. Now, Dan, how did you originally get involved?
I originally got involved as an executive team member on the SCA several years ago. I believe we're through the 5th or 6th president that's been part of this initiative. I went to some chamber business after hours and some things like that and got to know some people from the chamber, and that created some really great relationships. Pieces like being able to put those resources as to I want to help in the classroom from someone from the chamber, and allowed us to say, hey, we could use this service in this building with this person. So we're very excited about the partnership.
That sounds great. And Eugene, how about you? How did you get involved with this initiative?
Well, I was involved in Phase 1 and 2 of Springfield School District's Voice Project, Voices. And I think as a result of that, I was asked to participate on the founding committee for the Business Education Partnership. And from there, the Chamber then asked me if I'd be interested in representing the Greater Springfield Chamber on the Business Ed Partnership.
Well, that sounds great. And you bring up the Chamber. Alan, can you tell me a little bit about the relationship between the Business Education Partnership and the Chamber?
Well, yes, it's a very key, integral part of the Chamber's activities, because we're focusing on what it is that the BEP can use. And I might mention to you, Sarah, that there are really 5 standing committees, and that's how it ties into the Chamber's function. We have a Public Policies Committee, which really addresses a number of key issues related to educational policy. We also have our Programs Committee, and that's been focusing on internships and job shadowing. And then, as Dan mentioned, our Partners Committee, which he chairs, and I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about that later on, but it gives us a chance to work out partnerships with businesses to use their personnel to work with school districts, schools around the county. And then we also have a marketing committee that kind of pushes forth all that we're doing. And then last, our Major Initiatives Committee was later on. I hope I have a chance to tell you how it interfaces with our continuum of learning.
That sounds great. Dan, tell me a little bit about the committee you're involved in.
I really enjoy the Partners Committee, which I get to chair, and I think is a great honor as the SCA president. Is a great piece of putting business folks together with educators in the same room, and we talk about our needs, and it's very interesting because those needs a lot of times are very similar. Business folks want to see certain things from students, educators need certain things, and it's just a great way to, as we talk and join together, that we can use each other's expertise in that way. For instance, we were talking about a group that needed some shirts at one of our last meetings, and immediately one of our business partners said, hey, I think I know some people that can do that. And so it was just a great way of bringing those resources to the places where they're needed and opening that communication piece.
Yeah, it really does sound like it matches everyone up together where it needs, which sounds like really the key part of the Business Education Partnership.
Well, clearly, you mentioned too earlier about what it does that's hooked up with the Chamber proper. And we really have as our mission to make sure that we have a productive, literate workforce that we can put into play here in the county, so that when businesses are looking at different places in which to relocate or to bring their businesses, if we have a good workforce development program and plan in place, then that helps sell us. And so the BEP is a key piece of that, because we want to make sure that at the end of the day, we have a good working relationship with all of these organizations who are all pulling in the same way.
Great. Eugene, tell me about some of the activities under your leadership that have been going on with the BEP.
Well, I've been very pleased with the BEP has put on a number of public forums. One was on how business, education, labor can play a more collaborative role in supporting what schools need in terms of helping prepare students to enter the workforce or to go to enter college. This year, this past year, we had a public forum that addressed the school funding and some of the issues that arise when you don't have adequate funding to support education, and some of the examples that have been discussed in the General Assembly of how to address this issue. So I've been very pleased with the activities that we have been involved in. We've also played a role, the Business Ed Partnership, in providing the school board with input in terms of the selection process that they just went through in hiring Dr. Milton. The BEP submitted to the school district a list of things that we thought as a group we would that the school district or the school board should look at in terms of whomever they were going to hire as superintendents. These are some of the qualities that this individual should possess.
And it sounds like it really is one of the first times that the business community has been able to interact with educators to give that type of feedback, where in the past there wasn't that avenue, it sounds like. So that sounds great. I know you have a lot of activities. You have a great one that's coming up in November. Alan, can you tell me a little about that?
Very happy to do so, Sarah. We're going to be privileged to have the president of the University of Illinois system, Dr. B. Joseph White, who is the CEO over the entire University of Illinois system, to be our guest speaker. And he's going to appear out at the UIS campus on Friday, November the 7th at noon for a luncheon. And we're inviting the public, and he's going to talk a little bit about, of all things, early childhood education. When we had an opportunity to speak with Dr. White earlier when he was in Springfield, he talked about the linkage of making sure that we prepare our young people at an early age so that by the time that they prepare to candidate for higher education, where he is now, that they will be ready to do well. And so he sees that linkage, and so we're very, very pleased that a person of his stature and a person who has that kind of busy schedule is going to fit us in. So it's Friday, November the 7th, noon out at UIS.
Well, great. And for more information, they can call.
Please call you. Yeah, please call me at the chamber, 525-1173.
Well, that sounds great. Well, it really does sound like, Eugene, you were talking about the activities that go on. This is an activity. It's great for our community, great to learn about this, hear from such a wonderful man, and really understand the issue.
I think it underscores the importance of, in having a school system that, or school systems within Sangamon County, that, whether they're public or non-public, it takes more than just the education community involved. It has to be one that involves higher ed, labor, and business, and local citizens to make sure that students that are graduating out of these schools are coming out ready to either enter college or enter the workforce. And I would like to also say that while we would like to see, I think our emphasis is that every child should be educated to have the skills and abilities to enter college, but many kids may or may not want to go on to college.
Right.
And there are a lot of other activities, two-year programs, apprenticeships, and trade programs that students can enter into and be highly successful as contributing citizens to the community.
Well, that's exactly what you were talking about earlier, Alan, about having a productive workforce. It can be anything. We don't need everyone in the community to have, 10 years of postgraduate education, but we need everyone to be prepared.
Oh, that's for sure. We were just saying the other day that it's so very important to have people who are skilled in the trades. If you're asking Alan Woodson to build your house, you're going to be in real trouble.
Note to self.
That's right. So you want to make sure that you have people who are skilled across the entire spectrum.
Yeah.
And that's Eugene's point. And I also want to mention something that Eugene triggered in my mind to underscore here. That our partnership is countywide. and it also takes in private and public schools. And it goes from K through 12 all the way through higher education. So we try to cover everything to make sure that we get input from all aspects to put together this plan that we think is so important for our entire workforce development area here. And to the extent that we have people like Dan from the SEA and from the Teacher Corps, we're getting all of those different viewpoints, and when you put them out on the table and you kind of mix them together, you come up with a good product. So we're very, very pleased about what it is that we've done since 2006 and what it is that we anticipate doing in the near future.
That sounds great. And Dan, just from your perspective, with being with the Springfield Education Association, as you've started to see the BEP evolve, how has that benefited, or how have you seen that benefit our community?
Well, I think the obvious benefit is, you know, it's a comment that we hear a lot, but it takes a village to raise a child. And I feel like with these kind of partnerships, it definitely is in our best interest to have them as teachers, because we want what's best for the children that we teach. And that's, you know, hearing from the business world, hearing from, you know, what do we need to train these students in? What do they need to understand? What do they need to know to be a great part of the workforce? And anytime you get those conversations back and forth, it's of course excellent for both sides involved, because you shape what the work looks like, and then you're a partnership together in doing that work. And that's been a very huge help to us. When you teach students, a lot of times you get stuck in that day in and day out grind of teaching students, and sometimes you don't realize, hey, the world's looking for different things. And through those relationships with our business partners, we can say, what are you looking for in the real world? You know, yes, you can help us out here, and what can we teach our students so that they're an active, productive part of the workforce?
It really does sound like a productive dialogue is taking place there with it. What about your plans for the 08-09 school year as we move forward with your committee?
We have a big event in February called our Business Ed Day.
Sounds fun.
It's a lot of fun. In fact, what we do is we open our classrooms up to people in the business world. People in the chamber come in, and sometimes they teach a class. Sometimes they teach about their job. I was in an elementary music room several years ago, and a legislator's aide came in and taught music for the day, which was quite entertaining for both sides. The students enjoyed him, and it gave him a neat opportunity to see the students in a different way. It's really neat. We've been doing that in 186 for many years. We're excited this year that that's opening up into the county schools more as well, and that partnership, hopefully we can all benefit from that working together.
So to participate in it, you don't need an education degree to
Correct.
spend the day in the classroom.
Correct.
Anyone's qualified for it pretty
Correct.
much. And you mentioned a couple of different ways. You could teach a class, you could read a book, you could talk about your career. So it really is open for what the person's
really is
interested
open.
in.
And what we do is we put you together with the teacher whose class you're going to be in, and you guys discuss as a partnership again what you choose for that day to look like with their students.
What have you heard from people who have participated in this day before? Any feedback you've gotten back from them?
I've heard I had no idea it was like that to teach in a classroom. I've heard comments of, I had a blast, and when can we do it again? I've never heard a negative comment. It's always been a positive experience, and that's from both sides. The teachers are thrilled because obviously anytime you get a break from your daily work, you enjoy that, but it's also been great as the business folks come in and interact with our students. Students ask those folks questions that we would never dream that they would ask, and it's a great way to start a dialogue, and you might inspire a child to do something that they wouldn't normally have done.
I was going to say, it really gets back to, again, what you were saying, Alan, about setting the children up. This is a great experience for them. Perhaps they'll find a career.
Oh yeah, and that's a great experience, as Dan mentioned. I've done it a couple of times myself, and Dan, I was talking to a gentleman not too long ago who said one of the toughest questions that those young people always ask is, how much money do you make? and some of these individuals have been lawyers, you know, who are really pretty skilled at not answering questions, and they say, well, they go right to you. So it's a good experience.
The kids don't let you go on that one, huh?
And I would like to say that when you were talking about for this coming school year, one activity that we had a particular committee focus on and that we put out information on is getting more businesses to provide job shadowing or internships for students. And so we're hoping that we're going to get greater participation from local and area businesses to provide that platform for students to have.
Can you tell me a little bit, someone, about the benefits of, for a business, of hosting an internship or job shadowing day?
Well, let me pick up on what Lou Jean said to respond to your question. Last year we had a directory of 30 businesses, and in that directory we were hoping to add to that so that we'll have other experience options available for young people. But the real advantage there is it gives people, young people, a chance to look at different career paths early on, so that if they don't like that, then they can move into something else. But the ideal is that at the sophomore year in high school, they can be introduced to a number of these programs. In their junior year, they can actually go and job shadow. If they really find something like Sarah, then in their senior year, they can get into an internship, paid or unpaid, that actually puts them right at the workplace. And it all starts, as Lou Jean mentioned, with the job shadowing experience the year before. So it's a win-win for both sides.
And when you're talking about juniors and seniors, we're talking about high school students here,
Exactly,
correct?
exactly.
So they can lay out their plan for college.
Right.
I think someone mentioned about finding out if you like the career. It sounds like this is a much better time to do it instead of after you're done with college and realize you've just spent 4 years studying for something you might not be interested in. So this sounds like a great opportunity. So what does the business have to do, or any qualifications they have to have in order to be willing to participate?
No, really, if they, again, call the chamber, we can hook them up. We have the Regional Office of Career and Technical Education housed out at the Lincoln Land Community College campus. And Mary Jo Wood and Randy Riemann are our key people who are helping us with that. Ms. Wood is on the BEP board, and so that's, again, the advantage of having these kinds of collaborations and partnerships. We're hooked up with all the right people who can advance our various strategies. And so if a business will call the chamber, I can certainly hook them up with the right people, and we'll get them on that directory.
And it's a great opportunity for the businesses also. You talked earlier about a break by going to a classroom. It's kind of a break to sit back and teach a student about what you're doing. What a great opportunity. Have any of you guys ever participated in any of the job shadowing, internship, or go to school days?
No, I haven't.
No?
I've certainly have had the opportunity, like I said earlier, of having someone in my classroom, and you know, it can be humbling because you think the students really want to listen to you every day. And when someone with that different point of view comes in, they very quickly they're excited, and that's a neat opportunity. Students come in and they get really excited about learning, and it's about learning about opportunities for their life, and that's real important.
And again, it can only happen when the business community is willing to step up to the plate on this. So it sounds like the BEP is really making that happen. Alan, you mentioned earlier that there's an initiative the BEP is working on this year in collaboration with other organizations. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Yes, the chamber, along with the Sangamon County Community Foundation and the United Way of Central Illinois, have come together to put what we're calling the continuum of learning. It is a 5-stage process from birth all the way through incumbent workers. And what the Business Education Partnership is doing is playing a key role in that, because when we go back and talk about putting together a workforce that is skilled and literate, that fits right in the scheme of things along those 5 stages. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we have a good linkage with all that we're doing at the chamber, and the partnership wants to make sure that it is in a position to support what the continuum is doing.
Well, it sounds like it really ties in then to what President White will be talking about then at his luncheon in November about the
Exactly.
continued education.
In fact, we talked to President White about the continuum, and he was very, very impressed with that, and that's really what kind of led us into those kinds of discussions.
Well, that sounds
Yeah.
great. So for the continuum, who can get involved with that, or how can anyone get involved with that?
Well, in addition to calling us at the chamber again, they can also call the United Way. They can call John Kelker over at the United Way, or they can call John Stremstorff at the Sangamon County Community Foundation. And either one of those gentlemen can hook them up as well.
Well, that sounds great. Lou Jean, under your leadership, I know there's been a lot going on in the BEP. What do
Right.
you see coming in the future with things as you guys move forward? We've talked about a lot of things. How can it all get done?
Well, we're very fortunate to have the representation that we have on the committee from the civic and business and education groups, that we have a lot of individuals that bring experiences and expertise that will bring a greater awareness I see the BEP playing a very strong leadership in trying to bring greater awareness to the communities in Sangamon County about what types of activities are needed to support our institutions, and also a better understanding of what businesses are looking for in terms of those local graduates.
Right. That really does sound nice, because it really is having them prepared and then having somewhere for them to work.
Right.
You've really got to make that full connection with it. Alan, you've said from the beginning you've been involved with this. Can you tell us a little bit about the evolution you've seen with the BEP and how it has grown over the last couple of years?
Well, I must say this very quickly. It really began as an idea of 4 people back in the fall of 2005.
Oh, really?
Right. And we talked with the head of the Catholic Diocese, and Helen Tolan, who was the regional superintendent, and the then superintendent of District 186, Dr. Diane Rutledge, and Gary Plummer, the new CEO of the Chamber. And they got together in the fall of 2005, and then we put together an ad hoc committee, of which, by the way, Eugene Finley was one of our
You've been with it all the way.
And Gary Plummer and I were a little concerned about working these citizens too hard. But to our amazement, they wanted to really roll up their sleeves and meet not once a month, but twice a month at 7, sometimes 7:30 in the morning. And they got it together. They put together this structure so that we could roll it out and begin it in January of 2006 with an advisory board. So we often laugh about that. Eugene came along, but with these key business people in the county community, they did a lot to get us up and running.
That sounds great. And you talk about the structure they developed. We've talked a little bit about the Partners Committee. We've talked a little bit about some programming. Can you tell me about some of the other committees with the Business Education Partnership?
Well, I can tell you about another initiative, if I might.
Sounds great.
That is a part of our effort, and that is the Focus on Your Future Scholarship Program. The BEP is responsible for that program. It occurs every October and November, and we are working closely together with the 4 local institutions of higher education, each of which has provided a scholarship at their respective school.
And those 4 schools being?
Being Robert Morris, SCI Benedictine, University of Illinois Springfield, and Lincoln Land Community College. And that's been a great program. And last year we had over 50 young people to apply for what amounted to 4 scholarships, one from each school. And so it was a pretty tough competition. But it's another example of the partnership seeing the value of making an investment in these young people to try to help them get going. So we're pleased to play a role in that as well.
And those scholarships are open to students
Senior.
here?
I had to be a high school senior.
Okay.
And you have to be, well, we've taken the attendance area for Lincoln Land Community College, which extends beyond Sangamon County proper, but that's our boundary line.
Okay.
And you have to be a high school senior. And there's about we usually give them about 3 or 4 weeks there in mid to late October to apply, and then we get some people from one each from the those 4 institutions, plus a couple others, and they sit down and they have a real tough job of trying to winnow that down.
Having 50 applications and then having to narrow that down, that cannot be an easy task at all.
Right.
So if students are interested in getting more information on this, they could contact, I assume, their guidance counselors at their schools?
At the high schools, and they can call either one of those 4 institutions of higher ed that we just talked about to find out exactly what's going on. But I would encourage them to look into that early fall, September, no later than October, because we'll usually roll it out around about that time.
Yeah, you don't want to find out about it too late.
That's right. That's right.
So timeline-wise, things we need to remember are the Focus on Your Future scholarships in the early fall. You guys have that event coming up on November 7th.
That's correct.
Exciting. And Dan, when again is your go into the classroom day?
That rolls around in February.
In February. So right now, if folks are real excited about this and want to get their employees involved, can they start mentally preparing and getting excited for that?
Certainly they can. They certainly can. And they can also feel free to call our office, the Springfield Education Association office, and we can help them with those details as well.
Well, that sounds great. And I'm assuming that you'll have a much greater need this year for business folks if you're going to the county schools also.
most definitely, and that'll be a neat opportunity. Lots of different experiences, and hopefully with having those different experiences, different places where different business folks can feel comfortable, so more participation from both sides that way.
That sounds great. Now, through all of your work you guys have been doing here at the Business Education Partnership, what are some of the things that have really come to light as you've seen as the biggest benefits of the program?
I guess something we haven't talked about yet is the mentoring program that comes out of our Business Ed Partnership. And I look at that, a lot of our students need just that extra push, that extra someone that cares enough to make a difference in their lives. And we found that a lot of our business partners are mentors. They go into our elementary school system and even some of our middle schools, and they simply spend some time with the student, whether it's helping with their homework or eating lunch with them or just that special one-on-one time. We found that's just a wonderful piece. Those students light up. I had a class, music class. You would think students would want to come to that music class and stay there. And they liked coming to my class until their mentor came. And when that mentor came, they were out. They were going to see that mentor. And that's such a huge piece in the education of a child, because it's someone taking that time and making that difference in their life to just spend a few moments with them in a week to give them that specialized attention. I think that's been a huge, huge piece of our partnership in that we've been able to help some students succeed that just needed that extra push. That when you have 30 students in a classroom, sometimes it's not easy to identify who needs that push or to be able to give that push. And those people coming in from the community, wow, this person's coming in that they just want to come in to see me. They don't work here. It's not their job to do this. They just want to see me. That makes a huge impact in a child's life.
And again, you don't need a college degree in mentoring. Anyone can do this.
Correct.
Anyone can get involved.
Correct.
And I just want to say briefly is that the BEP has also let its voice been heard during about a year ago during the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. The committee sat down and decided some things that we would like to see in the No Child Left Behind Act, changes that are needed to be more effective, and we shared that with our U.S. senators and congressional leaders.
Well, it really is a great way to get involved in those public policy items that really do impact our education system and, again, our workforce for the future. So I think that's great that you guys have taken such a leadership role with that. Alan, one more time, what is the phone number? If anyone's heard anything they're interested in hearing more about, they can contact you at what number?
At the Chamber at 525-1173.
All right. So again, Alan, thanks so much. Dan, Lugene, great to have you here. Great to hear about all the great work you're doing and all the ways we're bringing together businesses in the education community. And thank you for joining us today on the Springfield Business and Economic Review. Again, I am your host, Sarah Wolin with the Greater Springfield Chamber of Commerce, and we appreciate your time. Thanks.